everybody, Will here from 1459 Studios. Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Gear. Today we have Joe from Sleepy Eye.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah.
Cool. What's going on with the band? Tell us.
So we just recently recorded an EP that should be out soon. We just got the masters back from Adam Tucker.
Awesome.
And
Adam's a wonderful person.
It sounds awesome. He's so fun to work with because he's just stoked on life, and you can tell that just in his emails.
Yeah.
He's just a happy, energetic dude, and he got our stuff back really quick, and it sounds awesome.
Nice.
Right now, we're just trying to figure out the album art, which is always a tricky thing, especially with four creative minds having to agree on something.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the next step, and then get it on the streaming platforms and put it out into the world, which we're really excited to do.
You guys going to do physical or just digital?
We might be doing the physical thing. Not sure. I mean, you can't even buy a car with a CD player now. So
Fair.
So it's kind of one of those things where, you don't want to have a box of it in your trunk for years because you can't get rid of it, or it ends up on roadside records.
Well, the best part about the best part about this whole thing is I can say, like, if you work with me at 1459 like we did for the tracking, and then you have Adam Tucker master, you have asshole and nicest dude on the planet, and it's a great combination.
And you sent it straight to him, like we didn't have to like do any digital logistics. So it was a really smooth process throughout the whole thing.
Adam does a lot of work with 1459. Him and I go back many years in friendship. He did when I first moved here. He recorded one of my band's first records. So Adam and I have had a long-term friendship. So recording guys are actually good buddies most of the time. So anyway, signature tone rules, 1459 rules. Let's talk about gear, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and talk about your amp. So Joe, new vintage.
Yeah, so this is a brand I've wanted an amp from a really, really long time. And I'm a huge Blink-182 fan, huge pop punk fan.
We've had many conversations.
Yeah, and I used to be in a country band too. And so when I saw that Mark Hoppus was using these, I was like, well, I have to have one. And then I found out that Jimmy Eat World, Reliant K, Sugarland all use these amps. I'm like, I gotta have one. But you can't walk into the store and get it. You have to order it from Nick, who makes these. And so I was on the internet just searching for this amp, just seeing what was out there if one happened to be there. And I found one at Music Go Round in Minnetonka. And I'm like, I bet this thing is long gone. And it wasn't.
Nice.
So I was 10 minutes from the store at the time, and I went straight there. I didn't go home, whipped out my credit card, and went, cool, done, got it.
Nice.
And then in addition to that, I also have a 410 that I got at Vig's that happened to just be there at the exact same time. So I love this amp. It only weighs 12 pounds. It has the same preamp as their big tube amp, so I can still get that same sound, but not have to have a road crew to haul it.
Nice.
And kind of to that point, there were a lot of gigs where I didn't need a 410. It's just way too much amp. You show up and the sound guy's like, oh, you brought one of those?
Right.
So in early 2020, I emailed Nick and I said, hey, do you have a 210? And he's like, no, but I can make you one. I'm like, really?
Yep.
Yeah, I can make you one.
That's what amp builders do, right?
Yeah. And he's like, so, the shipping is going to be a couple $100. I'm like, well, can I just come get it? And he's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm in Maple Grove, and Nick is in Duluth. And I said, absolutely, whenever it's done, I'll come get it. So this was during the time where it was really hard to get parts. And he said, well, I can't get any speakers from Celestion. Do you want Eminence ones? I was going to try them. If you hate it, I'll swap them out. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So I had to wait a year to get this. And what's cool about New Vintage and their cabs is you can pick a bazillion different colors. And at the time they had this Comet black Tolex. I'm like, I want that. And he's like, I love that. Nobody ever gets it. So if you're on their website and you look under their cabs and you see their 210, that is this one. This is the first. So what I really like is it doesn't weigh anything, and the amount of tone you can get out of this is it'll get super grindy, a lot of true tube overdrive, and it cleans up really well. And another thing that's kind of cool is when I was asking him about this amp when I met him, it's like, well, what's it based off of? And he's like, it's kind of its own thing. And I thought that was super cool, and I really like the fact that it's made Minnesota. Like, to me, that's super cool. I really appreciate that it's all built one at a time, and just the craftsmanship that goes into something like this is just as cool as the tone and the provenance of something like this.
Absolutely, and Minnesota is well known as a music builder world for sure. It's like my brain as a guitar player thinking about bass, I can't help but think about Eden being made in Montrose, Minnesota previously.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see another high quality amp builder based out of Minnesota. And he builds wonderful guitar amps too. I've had way more experience with his bass gear, and it records well. It sounds awesome. So if you're not familiar with the company, check them out. They're pretty awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Want to talk about some pedals?
Yeah.
Awesome. So Joe, let's talk about your spaceship.
Yeah. So I realize as a bass player, I'm rather excessive in my pedals.
Eccentric.
Yes.
We call it eccentric.
Yes. This is only a fraction of them, but I tried to find some ones that were a little bit more unique or ones that I use quite a bit. So the one thing I really want to point out is the compressor. When I recorded, this was the only pedal I used, and this is my Desert Island pedal. I think this is the best compressor I've ever played on. It just makes things sound better, and I don't know how else to describe that other than better.
Sure. That's what compressors are supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be able to hear them. You're just supposed, but you know when they're on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one of the first pedals I ever bought was this, where, again, I saw Blink-182 have this on their pedal board. I saw Alkaline Trio use it, and I was like, I have to have that.
Yep.
So this is my first pedal that kind of sent me off to like finding a bunch of other ones. And you can see I kind of have a thing for drive pedals because I like having different flavors.
Sure.
Certain songs sound better with different flavors of dirt or color. The sound has to serve the song.
Absolutely.
And so I like having a palette that can do that.
Absolutely.
So another one that I think is super cool is this guy from 1981. The guitar player from Reliant K builds these. And being a fan of pop punk, I was like, gotta have that one too.
Yeah.
And a more recent one was this guy. So this is a brand I've never heard of called Stomp Underfoot.
Really cool brand. They
Yeah.
have a lot of really neat stuff.
And so Twin Town did an exclusive with them. And so I had to go check it out just as they're a local place. I like to support them and they're a cool shop.
Absolutely.
And something that I really like about this one is it has a clean blend. So some of these can sometimes rob your low end a bit, and it just gets a bit too fizzy,
Sure.
which I don't like.
Which happens with a lot of bass distortion pedals.
Right. And this one you can blend in that clean to kind of fill it back out. So that I really like. Something else that you don't see much are these. So these got really big a few years back, and I used to have a different amp, and I'd play outside quite a bit, and it would get super hot, where I'd have to just let the fan run and cool it off. And I read on forums that something like this is going to help because your amp is trying to push frequencies that you can't hear. So if you look at your speakers when you're playing loud and you see them do this, it's trying to push these super low frequencies that you can't hear. And so something like this is going to cut all of those out, where your tone doesn't change, but your amp isn't working nearly as hard. And I'm like, I don't know, but let's try it. If I don't like it, sell it, whatever. And it worked.
Nice.
My amp wasn't running super hot anymore. It was just a nice thing for me where I'm like, cool, I might get more life out of my amp, which I think everybody can say.
Absolutely. It's like people always talk about in the YouTube world where they go, oh, the speaker is the majority of your tone, or your amp is the majority of your tone, or your bass. There's always that constant argument. As a studio guy, I would always say if you want to change your sound the most, it's going to come from the amp first and then the cab if you're using amp distortion as a general statement.
Right.
But from a bass player optic, it's really cool to see all the different palettes you can pull out of this.
Yeah, and I don't set it super aggressive because your cab has a frequency response at a certain number. And so I try and do it just around there so that I'm not affecting anything coming out of it in an audible way.
Sure.
And the final one I want to point out is this guy, which is the Grizzly bass. And what really attracted me to this, and it's such a simple thing, is it lights up. And this one's got quite a bit of range on it too, where it'll do overdrive and it'll also do distortion, and you can blend them. It's got a high roll off, again, to kind of take care of that fizziness.
Sure.
And it's got a mid cut. So you can start to get into SVT area.
More of a traditional bass sound.
Right. But again, it's having this on demand rather than having it throughout the whole set.
Sure.
Especially doing a lot of cover gigs where I have a big background in that and I still do it. There's certain songs that need different tones.
Sure.
So I like to have everything ready where I don't have one rig and it's the same sound throughout the whole set. I can have the appropriate tone for the appropriate song.
That's very cool. Awesome. Well, let's check out your guitars, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some cool bass guitars here.
Yeah. So I have quite a few, but I brought two that I play quite a bit and that kind of have some specialness to them. So this is a 59 custom shop P bass. And there's a little bit of a story behind this one that I had a really good friend that was a manager at Riff City Guitar, which is no longer here.
It was a cool shop when it was here.
Yeah, it was super cool. And so they had somebody from there go to the yearly custom shop event. And for that event, they'll have like 200 guitars out, and you get cards and you put them in the strings, and they do a drawing to give you a chance to buy it. And they had about, I think they said like 6 basses or so. And their purchaser just threw a card on, went, we'll see what happens. And they got it. And so my friend's like, hey, just so you know, this is coming in. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I don't know. And he's like, well, do you want to just take it home and try it? I'm like, well, it's on the website. So? I'm like, okay. I got it home and I'm like, oh, dude, why are you doing this to me?
You don't want to take it back.
I didn't want to take it back. So,
it was like when the adoption agency showed up to my house with the dog and said, just see how it goes for the weekend. You're not getting this back.
Yeah.
I love that dog.
Yeah. So, so it has a little bit of a special meaning behind that, just because it was this little bit of story that's kind of a personal story, and that it's from a dealer event. So I don't take the custom shop case out because it's got to stay pretty. And in there, it has the paperwork and all of that, but it also has the card that sat on here at the event that you just aren't going to get on any other custom shop bass that you might buy. I mean, I had to make sure to get a matching strap. I really like Couch Stuff. They make a really good strap. What I really like especially is they make stuff out of recycled auto vinyl, which as a car guy, I really appreciate that. And I liked how it mostly matched. And to know that it's special, it says that it's limited edition.
Of course.
Of course.
Because why not be a nerd about it if you're going to be a nerd about it, right?
Right.
It's the best part.
Right. But this is what I would consider, if I had to consider a main bass, because I have a lot, would be this. I don't know. The P bass is a pretty simple instrument, but there is something about this one to me that's just a little different. It plays incredibly. I never have to set it up. There's just something special about this one.
For sure.
And this is the one that I recorded the EP onto. The whole thing. And yeah, this is probably one of my favorites.
That sounds awesome. We'll put some sound clips in later that you can check out. Let's check out this pink thing.
So this is a little funky, which is kind of on purpose. So Fender does what they call the mod shop. So you go on their site, they have different colors, pickups, necks, where it's kind of almost a custom shop, but you're taking their production parts and just building your own. And I wanted a fun, passive jazz bass. And so I parted this together, and I also was able to do this through Riff City as well. And it showed up, and I'm like, this is awesome. I like really loud, obnoxious colors and all of that.
That's why you liked hanging out with me when we were recording.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. And this is what I was able to part together. Almost all of my basses have the Perloid pickguard. Again, it's just obnoxious. And I found
Obnoxious strap to go
an
with
obnoxious strap, also a couch. I would say this is my like close second as far as some of my favorite stuff. It plays incredible. Normally I like a really small neck, and this one's very deep, which I at first got it and I'm like, well, that's not really a jazz bass neck, but it's super comfortable. It's seen a lot of miles on it in the back of a trailer, and I rarely have to adjust anything. So
Nice.
This is another one I really, really like.
And it's got a really cool pink case too. So
Yeah.
yeah, very cool. Well, Joe, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I like seeing your spaceship and your cool new vintage amplifier.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Be sure to check out Sleepy Eye. They've got a new album coming out called Jimmy Buffett Presents the Dante's Inferno. Quite possibly the silliest name of any record I've ever recorded, so congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. We'll have some links for you to check out their music. See you next time.